Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. I'm Shante Javon Taylor, neuroscientist and success strategist. I finally am sitting down to do this debrief about the very first Optimine live 4-day neuro coach and neuro leadership training. I had to do some serious mental gymnastics to be able to get to this live stream and debrief. So it's been about a couple weeks. So I just want to share how it went. So grab your coffee or tea, water, or choice of drink and come hang out with me for a few minutes as I do a quick debrief on the 4-day live Optimize Neuro Coach and Neuro Leadership certification. Okay. First of all, it was awesome. It was very intense. Okay, so normally the Optimize Neuro Coach and Neuro Leadership certification training spans over the course of 8 weeks. Okay. Oh, and if you have some questions about the program or anything, plot them in the comments. Okay. So it was very intense. Okay, but it was off the charts, energetic, engaging. I feel like we were the most engaged in a long time because I've been running this program for about 8 years now. Okay. And so, when you have it spread over time, there's some benefits and, not, disadvantages and advantages, right? So, in order to keep a level of engagement in these online experiences, you have to, make sure you are engaging on a regular basis and getting people back on board. Because when people first sign up for these online programs, they're all hyped up because the dopamine is going, the adrenaline. And I just noticed over time, because, my science brain and everything, that it dwindles. The hype dwindles, the dopamine, life starts happening. And then about the fourth week or so in the program, that's when I'll send out the emails and be like, hey, you got this. And sometimes I'll actually do a training on their levels of motivation waning. Okay. And why they, kind of recharge them, get them back excited to finish the program. Okay. So that's how it's been for a long time. But I got this download and was challenged to squeeze 8 weeks worth of content, the core foundational content, into 4 days. I'm like, challenge accepted. But the reason why I believe that I got the download and insight to challenge myself to do this is because I've evolved in this knowledge of neuroscience over time. So if some of you know me, some of you do not, but my background is in neuropsychology, right? And I'm a trained neuroscientist, lots of brain research. I'm not going to go back through all that right now, but my pivot is using neuroscience to empower the world. Okay, so my mission essentially was to empower 100 million minds, right? But it has recently changed since last year to 1 billion minds. Thanks, Ingrid Vanderbilt, who's empowering 100 million women to, get to wealth. So I changed mine to empowering of 1 billion minds to reach their highest levels of human potential via understanding and intentionally optimizing how they use their brain potential. And so, since I had a bigger mission, and some of you know how big I am on mission, okay, my brain was like, okay, we got to recalibrate, we got to reset, because 100 million is, extremely different from 1 billion. Okay. So my brain has been trying to figure out how are we going to make a bigger impact. So some of you know that I have, I've been pivoting. I've been exploring more media, the media world. because that's how you make an impact, video. That's how you build relationships faster, right? The brain is able to pick up on, nonverbal communication, how you communicate. People are more engaged when you are on video versus other means of communication. So, if you look at Oprah and people making an impact, they harness the power of media. Okay, so it doesn't lie. This media doesn't lie. So that's what I decided to do. I said, I'm going to get more into the media world so I can reach more minds at once. And so, with that, I didn't want to stop my certification program. Okay. But I knew there had to be a more effective and efficient way to harness its potential, if you will. So that's where the 4-day came in, the 4-day insight, and it was a success. Okay. So now we have, in addition to the 100 neuro coaching certified coaches in the world, we now have 7 who brave the elements, if you will, and went through the 4-day experience with us. And we started at 9 and sometimes ended at 6 or 7 at night. Okay. And we had a couple of people in the UK. So they stayed up till like midnight and 1 p.m. I mean, this cohort, oh my gosh. I mean, this cohort was super committed, super engaged, all in. What I loved about this micro cohorts, that of course they eventually moved, they're now in the macro cohort of Optiminders. But it was so intimate. So I know I want to keep it a smaller cohort, because when we had that smaller, like concentrated, engaged cohort, I noticed that because one of my superpowers is being in the present moment, like I am right now, I'm able to pick up on when to pause, when to collect insights, because y'all, insights are powerful. Okay. Insights only come in the moment that it downloads to the brain. Okay. In neuroscience, we believe that insights are the most powerful forms of human intelligence, because how they activate in the brain. So this is a side note training for you, by the way. Insights process differently than conscious problem solving. Insights activate differently in the brain than creative solving or coming up with ideas, which is primarily the right brain denominator. Conscious thinking requires your prefrontal cortex, right? So lots of cognitive resources need to flow to the prefrontal cortex to come up with a solution. But the conscious brain is very limited, isn't it? Because consciously, you also have to be filtering out other distractions that can be coming in, interfering with your thought process. Okay. And it's only sustainable for so long. But we also know in neuroscience that the waves are different when we measure conscious thought and right brain creative thinking or problem solving. In images, in brain images, we know that the brain lights up differently when someone is consciously trying to find something versus creatively trying to find something versus having an insight. When we have an insight, the most powerful waves available, known right now, gamma waves, are activated. And this is why when you get that aha moment, you feel a sense of euphoria, a high, because of the dopamine and serotonin. It's off the chain when you experience an insight compared to a conscious solution versus a creative brain brainstorming or coming up with an idea, innovative idea. So this is literally measured, and we can see the difference. Not just that. Wait, there's more on insight. Insight uses the brain in the most energy efficient way. Okay. So remember, when I say conscious problem solving, that's not using your brain mental resources efficiently. That's consciously recruiting mental energy and resources to find a problem or a solution to a problem. Now, the right brain also uses mental energy, less than that of conscious thought for the most part. And the way it's able to do that is it doesn't need conscious activity. So you can literally go offline mentally, right? And your right brain can come up with something. But an insight does not require a lot of mental energy. Okay. So to put your brain in the condition to have an insight, the highest level of intelligence of this human experience per neuroscientist right now is having a quiet mind, is being in the present moment. It's when your mind is allowed to wander, because this is the time during those three important points, time frames throughout your day. That's when your brain is most likely going to access what's called the default neural networks of your brain. And that network is reaching into the different parts of your brain, accessing information that you haven't even thought of or even know that's in there. So what it's able to do, why insight is so powerful, is because it's able to put together information that you have never put together before based on being in that moment, or taking your brain offline so that the default network can dominate. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because during the 4-day experience, all of us were in the present moment, engaged. So it's important as a trainer, if you're a trainer, to not just drone on and on and on and on about your own knowledge and, share how brilliant you are. You have to be present with your audience. You have to be in tune with your audience. And you have to know when to dive in to the space so that you can glean their insights for the moment. Because that's when they happen. And that's the highest form of their intelligence you're connecting with when you're training them. I'm just a messenger, people. So for 4 days, we were highly engaged, highly insightful. Yes, it was physically, especially the first day, we were all just like exhausted. Everybody came back. They said they were having dreams and it just felt like they just were ready to crash. But then by the second day, our stamina was built up some more. And then the third day and the fourth day, we were just on high. We kept going, right? So because of my background as a biology professor, as a high school biology teacher, years ago, I actually have the muscle memory to do long trainings every day. Okay. You think about how many, classes a day, and I was always on my feet and teaching biology because, it's experiments and I'm highly engaged and everything like that. So my body remembered to a point how to teach for long periods of time. So I already knew I had the skill set, the expertise to be able to carry something like this out. So the 4-day experience was a success, and it will allow me to incorporate it into um, my pivoting of how I'm reaching a billion minds, because now I can train people in shorter time frames, more often in the year. And not just that, I can then have my certified neuro coaches and neuro leaders learn how to facilitate the 4-day trainings, which is why, thank you, Nair. Oh my gosh, Nair is our master certified Optimind coach, and she was my right-hand brain, and she really helped us to navigate our energy, and she's fun, and she just has her own beautiful heart, spirit, and expertise, by the way, because I had her training, a section of the training. So she got to expand her potential, but she'll be one of the first to help to start to facilitate these 4-day trainings. Some of you know that this was beta. I was straight up like, yes, I already have the content. I've already trained on it for years, but not in this format. So as a result, some people took the advantage of the opportunity. And I'm actually running another 4-day experience in July, but because of my science brand, I can't help it. I mean, scientists, I experiment. So we're actually going to do it over 2 weekends in July. So that means I'm in beta mode again. So if you want to get more information about that, definitely put that in the comments. I'll put the link up eventually because I'm still talking. So the 4-day experience. So your question might be, well, Shantae, okay, sure, you know how to train for 4 days and long stretches at a time, but how can you condense 8 weeks of neuroscience-based coaching and leadership training into 4 days? Well, I'm glad you asked, if you asked. The reason I can do that is because, first and foremost, before the 4 days, the participants had to go through the training of the adult learning brain. Because one of the reasons why a lot of people don't feel successful in these programs, especially these online programs or these intense trainings, is because people are not aware of how to teach and train according to the adult learning brain. And when I say adult, I'm not talking about people in their 20s. Yes, they're in their adult years, but I'm talking specifically because most people who join my program are 35 plus, okay? And so I know, because I study the adult learning brain, and everything I bring together in my programs is always from the lens of how can they absorb this information and code this information optimally. So I know that they need certain parameters in order to understand how their brain learns best at the age that they are, so that they can absorb the information as effectively and efficiently as possible, and without getting too overwhelmed. I mean, anytime you're learning something new and something complex like the brain, of course, it's going to feel somewhat challenging, which is different from complete overwhelm and stress, by the way, right? So they have to go through that training so that they can understand how their brain learns, and to help them to, quiet down that little amygdala as well. So they won't freak out, okay? The second thing they did before the 4 days is they had to go through my framework, my neuro framework of identifying their neuroscience needs, because that helps to build a solid foundation that they're going to build on for the next 4 days. The reason they need to do that pre-work and identify their specific neuroscience needs for themselves and for their clients or organizations is because there's a lot of information that I go over, okay? There's a lot to this whole neuroscience world as it relates to this human experience, but everything doesn't um, relate to everybody the same way, right? So a mindset coach or a business coach or a life coach or a relationship coach or a teen coach, they're all going to need different types of neuroscience, right? But even though they'll be exposed to the whole range, the whole spectrum of neuroscience as it applies to the human experience, but by having them do the pre-work and specifically focusing their brain on what they need from neuroscience helps them to then, when they get to the 4-day experience and start learning all the things, their brain will know when to engage more than, to one topic than others, right? And the reason why I started doing this over the last few years is because first of all, my brain picks up on patterns. So all this is like data and stuff to me, seeing trends in my students and how they flow and go. And we have to be flexible when we're trainers and teachers, right? But I started to do this a few years ago, creating this neuroscience framework before people train, because it keeps them from feeling like they have to learn everything about neuroscience. It is exhausting for me personally when students like come on our office hours and Q&As, and they're asking all these things about neuroscience, and I'm like, wait a minute, aren't you a leadership coach? Why are you asking me about this random stuff? I don't say it like that, of course, but the point is, I have to protect my mental energy and be as efficient and effective as possible, streamlining this information to my students. So I would question them and challenge them on why they needed to know certain things before I expend mental energy explaining a certain topic. Okay. And that helps them to keep focus on the information and topics that are useful to either their world or the world of their clients. Okay, that's really important, people, because just on as the coach and the trainer, we have to use our energy effectively so that we can hold the space for those deeper level trainings or office hours. We can't just be all over the place. This also happened when I was a biology teacher and high school teacher. They would just come just because, masters in neurobiology and biology, it was like, it was a free for all sometimes with the questions. I'm like, no, we're staying in these lanes or we're gonna run out of time, we're gonna deviate, and we have to be aware of other students' needs. Okay, so by having the neuro framework and them identifying what they need, what their neuroscience needs are, and the needs of their clients, they can better focus and hone in on those topics that come up when they come up in the 4-day experience. Okay, this is all important, people. Okay, this is optimizing the learning experience in 4 days. Okay, so this is just before the training. Okay, so y'all gotta come committed for these 4 days if you decide to embark upon this intense, engaging, very rewarding journey. Okay, and if you don't have time, like 8 weeks to go, or some programs are 6 months, 12 months. Okay, this is 4 days. And then after the 4 days, well, the fourth day, half of the day is practicing real case studies and real life scenarios, coaching scenarios, so that they can practice using neuroscience strategies into these real human experiences. Okay. And then at the end, they were able to take a group exam. Okay. So we put them out in breakout rooms, and they had their list of their questions. And so most of the exam was group, and that's another tenet of optimizing the adult learning brain, people. Okay. That our level of engagement is more social, right? It's more engaging in group work to learn and process information. Okay, so that's why it's so powerful. It was so powerful for them to take the exam collectively. Okay, and then there was an individual part of the exam that they then had to take and then fill out and send it to me later that evening as well. So everyone was successful. Everyone, was able to share their journeys, and we were able to. I was able to make the training unique to that cohort. That's another really great aspect that came out of this experience. So it's not just one training for everyone, right? It is, I'm taking into consideration what their roles are in life, what their coaching niches are, what their leadership niches are, what their training or speaking niches are. And so maybe I'll go a little bit deeper into a topic because I'm aware of what their niche is. So every cohort is going to be unique to that cohort. And so having that micro cohort allows them to have a uniqueness, I would say, a unique bond to each other, even when they then go into the macro cohort or community of the Optimind community. So I was not expecting that level of engagement and bonding, but I see how it's going to be powerful moving forward. Okay. So what else? What else? Oh, another way to optimize the learning experience is my right-hand brain, Nair Qureshi, also master level neuro coach and neuro leader. She would engage them. She would, every morning come back and ask people, what their insights were, right? Insights are important, the highest level of human intelligence, according to neuroscience that we know so far, right? And she would quiz them, along the way over the 3 days. So we infused so many aspects of optimizing the adult learning experience throughout the 4 days. Okay. And so that's how we were able to really manage the time and energy in the experience optimally so that it worked. And there were some other things that I wanted to share, but I just want to reiterate that we will be having another 4-day experience, but this time we're going to test over 2 weekends in July. Okay, and those 2 weekends for right now are July 8th through the 7th, so a Saturday and Sunday, and then the following weekend, the 15th and the 16th, with a makeup weekend in August. Okay, I don't really know how the makeup weekend is going to go, but the first weekend will definitely be mandatory. Okay. And so the option of, I really don't want it to be optional, but I understand things come up, right? So that's why I'm having that makeup weekend in August. Okay. So I will put the link. We aren't only taking 10 people. 3 people are already signed up. So remember, I want to keep the cohort intimate and engaging, so people can get individualized attention, and they can get deeper knowledge and awareness for their particular niche. That's why it can't be 50 people. All right. Right now, until we figure out how to give people a deeper level of individualized and unique attention. Okay. So that is what's happening. That's my debrief, people. Let me know if you have any questions, even if you're watching the replay. Hi, Dr. Tawana. Yes, Dr. Raphael Travis, mission driven. You know me. My mission, 1 billion minds, empowering 1 billion minds. So this will be more effective to reach closer to 1 billion minds, having more frequent trainings in a shorter amount of time, and training facilitators to be able to facilitate this 4-day training all over the world. So Nair is in the UK, so she'll be one of the first facilitators of this new format for the Optimind certification training. And so I'm excited about that, the next part of this journey of Optimind, so that we can, impact more minds faster, because we need it, people. We definitely need to shape the hearts and minds of people who are, experiencing this challenging, complex world and all that it entails, but are also seeking to operate in their greatest strengths and passions, and want to be more engaged in life instead of being reactive to life, right? Being reactive to what's going on in the world, but paying attention to what's going on in the world, because we're adults here, people. You can't just check out, okay? Especially, consider there are, so here's my spiel. Some of y'all know I have spiels. Some people cannot check out of social issues because those things impact some people more than others. Okay? Some people cannot put their blinders on when social injustices or social issues will directly impact them in their world, their communities, their families. Okay? So we have to be responsible for other people, because when you tell someone you check out of what's happening in the world, that's not showing empathy for someone who could potentially be affected by what's happening in the world. We are all connected. We are impacting people's minds, even if you don't know you're impacting people's minds, because we have what's called this subconscious stuff going on, right? So I did a TEDx talk in 2019 about how we can change the world by changing our brains. And in that talk, I talk about acts of kindness, that when we show acts of kindness to strangers, we are helping them to develop trust and empathy for other human beings. When people observe acts of kindness, their mirror neurons light up and can experience trust and empathy. And vice versa could happen, right? If we're not kind to people, okay, we're activating people's distrust and threat brain. So we don't need necessarily long periods of time, like Oprah or, people who've been around for a long time, putting good in the world, right? Sometimes we only have moments to show kindness and empathy. And if we can affect people's brains on that level, whenever we can, wherever we can, at the grocery store, smiling at someone as you're passing them by, picking up a piece of trash, somebody's witnessing you picking up the trash, and showing empathy to our communities, our parks, our planets. Their mirror neurons can light up with empathy because they're acting as if they are also doing that act. So maybe you didn't know that, maybe you did. My point is, we're impacting people's brains whether you are aware of it or not. So I want people to take this knowledge of neuroscience, however they receive it, whether they're trained by me directly or trained from the neuro coaches and neuro leaders that's doing things all over the planet. I want you to take this knowledge of neuroscience, of understanding the brain and the impact we can have in the world, on the world, by having a deeper level of engagement within our internal world, but also with other people, whether it's strangers or not. Because we're not going to move collectively in our humanity if we don't move together as one. Okay? So be aware, be self-aware that you have an impact every moment, every day, and just consider what you say and how you act and how you behave to your fellow man and woman. Okay? Thank you. That was my spiel, y'all. You're having coffee with the neuroscientist. All right. The 4-day experience is happening again in July. I will drop the link at the bottom. I will read your comments and respond to your comments and questions. You can also email me at info@optimindinstitute.com. info@optimindinstitute.com. If you want to hop on the phone, ask more questions, all that good stuff. Okay. All right. That's my debrief. Now I'm going to go debrief on the couch somewhere and do some more work. But yes, I'm looking forward to this next one in this new format of the 2-weekend span and see how that goes. I love to experiment. I love to glean, the patterns, what goes right, what can be improved on. That's fun to me. So if you ever need, some injection of new novelty in what you're doing in your business or profession, do a little pivot, right? And then the brain they'll light up. There's challenges, obviously, right? But if it's within your strengths and zone of genius, it's more, your brain sees it more as a challenge that will add value to your existing neural networks, your strongest neural networks. And so it can be, you have more dopamine flow and fun as you are figuring out the challenge. All right. Remember, when you better your mind and better your brain, you will better your impact in the world and help others to do the same. I'll see some of you in the 4-day live certification training in July. And I'll see some of you in the comments. All right. Take care.